Yeah. Wait, should we record this? Because I saw this on my feed and I was going to leave a comment and I saw your comment on it. And then I
Yeah.
didn't even end up leaving my comment.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay.
Okay. When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing towards those big vision board business goals.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly unfiltered podcast for online business owners. There were so many good ones, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeline Daigan. And this is
hashtag
managed. I think it's perfect.
I like it. I like it.
Hey there. Before we get into this episode, we need to give you a heads up. The audio cuts in and out at times, and even though Harmony, our amazing podcast producer, tried every trick in the book and even made up a few new ones herself, technology just wasn't feeling cooperative. But please don't hit pause. This episode is packed with some of the best advice and insights we've ever shared, and we promise it's worth powering through the rough patches. Welcome to Hashtag Managed Podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest. I have been wanting to have this woman on Hashtag Managed since Jessica asked me to be a co-host. And unfortunately, Jessica is sick today, so it is just me and my mentor, Kim Watson. Kim, welcome to the podcast. So for those of you guys who don't know, I worked for Kim at Adidas and have also nannied her not so babies. They're not babies anymore. But tell the audience just a little bit about yourself and basically your life story in a few amount of words.
Clip notes version.
Yeah.
From a career standpoint, I started as a graphic designer in what I like to call the junk mail industry. So I was doing the Valpak designs, the Reach magazines. I don't even think they have those anymore. So I just dated myself. And then transitioned into more of the marketing. It was like we operated like a small mom and pop for a private hospital, and then transitioned to my role at Adidas. And that's kind of where the girl boss mentality took off, right? So worked my way up the ladder and into a senior manager position. And then decided that it was time to go south because Indiana weather was no longer for me. And so picked up the family and I took a role at Fanatics and moved down and was a director of product content marketing there for about 5 years. And then just recently took a role with Stryker to learn more about the CRM side, the marketing world, and more about analytics and data. So that's it from a career nutshell. On the family side, we have 2 crazy kids. Maddie knew them when they were little. They are now 13 and 11, taller than me, and doing all of the sports and the school and I'm living the mom Uber life every night. It feels like.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, to get us even more warmed up before we get into the girl bossing in today's topic, we're going to do some fire rapid questions. And let's be real, we most likely will go on tangents today. Like, we have known each other for a while, but that is okay. You all are in for a special treat. So, starting off with, what is your favorite thing about being a marketer?
My favorite thing, you can't sum it up in one word. I think it's the combination of you have like the creative aspect. So I can go off and just design things and come up with concepts and ideate, and that's amazing and super fun. But then you kind of partner that with the data and the analytics side, and my nerd self gets super excited for that. So like seeing them come together, and you're able to track the success of your creativity, which is super fun and fascinating.
Oh, that's a good answer. Okay. Celebrity.
Do I get scores on my answers?
Yes. Yes. Okay, celebrity you'd love to meet.
So right now, I would say Nikki Glazer. She is hilarious. She the bits she comes up with are so cutting and actually really insightful. I would love to just sit in a room and hear her process for coming up with jokes. I think so that's a big one for me right now. I love listening to just like when I'm working, sometimes I'll just put on like comedy episodes and listen to it in the background while I'm working.
I definitely think I get that from you. I think I get that from you where it's like I'll have little things in the background as I'm like designing. Yeah. Okay. Can't live without blank.
Oh, this one I'm actually a little ashamed to admit. I would say my cell phone. If we were talking about a thing, I manage everything on there. Work, life, logistics, like all the things. And like guilty pleasure scrolling through like all of the videos. It's an insane amount of time, Matt. Like the time in the car while you're waiting for kids at practice, you're like, should I be productive or should I scroll through things? So that's an ongoing battle. Okay. So but honestly, like friends would probably be, if we were talking about like a non-thing, like friends for sure.
Okay. This question, I'm really curious to know what your answer is going to be for this one. In an alternate universe, what would your job be in an alternate universe?
Ooh. Okay, I don't know if I ever shared this with you. My most favorite job, not joking, was bartending. I don't know if I would say that. So if I said alternate universe right now, it might be fashion design, because that was something I truly loved. I was terrible at it. But if I potentially had a magic wand and could get some skills, I would love it. But truly, my most favorite job was bartending. I was so burnt out coming out of college, and I was like, I don't want a real job. I would like to bartend. That's not a real job, but I mean more focused on what I went to school for to study for. And I was like, I'm done with it. I just need a break. And so I took the job bartending, and it was hard work, super hard work, but it was a blast. The coworkers, the stories from the clients.
Yeah, I feel like okay. Follow-up question to that. What is the craziest story somebody ever shared with you while bartending? That you were like, at this, like you're like, I should maybe go to jail for this. Like, I shouldn't know this information.
I mean, I got stories from everything on how people lost their entire life savings, but they were sitting there just drinking at the bar for hours on end. I mean, I guess I got everything from that to how, people were trying to find their sugar daddy to, I mean, it was everything in between. It was fascinating, and I would just ask questions like, well, tell me more. Like hearing people's stories, it was like you were on a reality show every single day.
I would eat that up. Okay.
You would. You should. I would take a spin in the bartending world. It's hard. It's super hard.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay. And then the last question before we get into the nitty gritty is, what is your favorite brand currently?
Favorite brand, I would say, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Alo Yoga.
Aloe? A-L-O?
Yeah, A-L-O.
I love you.
Seriously.
No, okay.
It's my favorite.
I do.
Okay. So I love their tights I live in. I mean, I work remote, so usually it's business on top, party on the bottom. So we have usually the tights.
Yeah.
And those things, they last, and they keep you right and tight. I'll tell ya.
Yes. No, and I would say too, because I mean, not to bring up Adidas, but again, it would I will say working at Adidas just made, though I learned so many skills at Adidas, and also just about athletic gear working there. So like, again, the leggings. So like, I feel like out of all my friends, I am actually very critical about leggings and like the quality of a legging. And I'm just like, yes. So I agree with you. Aloe is also one of my favorites. Deanne also loves aloe, and I've created a monster. And like my dad also has multiple sets now. And I'm like,
wow.
Okay. I know.
Okay. If you haven't tried the magnesium oil, you have to try the magnesium oil.
Okay, I need to cart.
Life-changing.
Do you have a promo code? Like, we should have a promo code.
If this takes off, maybe you guys will get a sponsorship.
Yeah.
But truly.
If we do, we're sending it to you.
Truly, the magnesium oil, I can't. Okay, there you go. There's another thing that's not as embarrassing to admit. Guilty pleasure.
Okay.
Without.
There we go. Okay. Okay. Amazing. Okay. Now, I am so excited for this episode. When you emailed over your topic ideas, so full transparency to the audience too, like when I originally asked Kim to be on the podcast, like I was just thinking, oh, we're gonna like, it'd be great to do mentor mentee. But then when she brought up when girl bossing goes too far, a reflection on career overdrive, the pressure to succeed and the art of stepping back without stepping down, like I couldn't, like I'm just very excited for this conversation. So to kick it off, can you share a time when you felt like you were in full on career overdrive?
Yeah. It goes back to the Adidas days. Typically in like the sports industry, it's very male dominated. You feel like as a woman, you have to kind of fight and claw and scratch and do everything you can to get to the next level. So that's when I was in full, like I'm climbing the corporate ladder mode. I want to make an impact. And the only way in my mind to do that, and this kind of goes back to how I was raised, was the harder you work, the more successful you'll be. The harder you work, the more you'll get out of your career, the more you learn. And so that's where I was at. I was getting to work 5 a.m. and not leaving until like 8 p.m. And it was not great for my health. It was not great for my family and relationships. And I will say, as a kid, I did make some of the greatest friends that I still have in my life. So there was, they then became family essentially, right? They filled that hole, but it truly was, it was not a great mental space. But reflecting back now and knowing that I was able to kind of take a step back and turn the page. And that's kind of where the Fanatics role came into play. Not only like I truly did want to move to where it was warmer, but it also was a realization like I can't, this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable in my life. I have 2 kids. I was leaving them before they woke up in the morning, and then even coming home and they were already asleep. And it took me a while to realize that and shift my mindset as to understanding what's the most important thing to me. But that was definitely a girl boss too hard. And I don't know if I would say girl boss too hard. I would say, there is something to be said for working that hard. But I think in reflecting on it now, I would be more strategic in how I was applying my energy to my work. Right. So
yeah. I love
logging the hours.
And from my standpoint too, where this is just a full circle moment. I feel like this is truly a full circle moment because like I was one who like I always wanted to be there when you got there too. Like, where it's like I always and like you never asked that of me. Like even as the intern where it's just like I was like this is about like I'm going to I just like, wanted your respect, wanted to be viewed like as a hard worker. So, okay. Besides like getting there at the ass crack of dawn and leaving late, what were some of the other signs you think you were pushing too hard?
I think it was constantly feeling like I had to have my hands in everything. And like I had to have control over everything. And it was lead by example. So that's, like I never said that was the expectation, but to me, it was if I am doing this, then people will see it and then start to do it too. Hence you, right? But that's not, I don't think that was the healthiest way to go about it. I think now having those conversations, that was the expectation, and now I would reflect back and say like, oh, I should have had that conversation with them. And then, maybe they would, employees would come and say, start to set boundaries, and that maybe would have helped me realize sooner, like, oh, that's not a great way to operate. But yeah, I think the control thing was good too. I had to help with the design. I had to help with this. I had to have my hand in here. I had to do the photo shoot. Whereas I don't think that was the case. We had extremely talented people. I think it was just that mentality, like go, go. Like, you got to do it all. You have to do this. You have to take on everything. You have to be everything to everyone. And that's it, again, and it's not sustainable.
Yeah. How do you think the girl boss culture has influenced the way women approach success and work-life balance?
So I think the girl boss culture is great. Like, it gives people the confidence to go after whatever they want, right? Like, if they want a managerial role, if they want to own a project, if they want to dominate and become a CEO. I think the girl boss culture resonates more with maybe even my kids eventually, right? Like, they'll see that and be like, I can do this. But at the same time, it's that added pressure. Like, you don't have to climb the corporate ladder to be a girl boss, right? I love what you guys are doing. You guys are taking the reins and creating something your own. And that in itself, like, to me, that's more inspiring than like the typical corporate girl boss with getting promotions and owning projects and doing that sort of thing.
It's so funny that you say that too, like bringing up I think about Charlie too. So like, for instance, my mom was the breadwinner. My mom was ahead of her time, pharmaceutical sales, girl boss, hard. Now exactly. And then we have my sister, who is currently a VP of marketing at like an engineering company. And it is definitely like an all boys club. And just recently, obviously, like, we are full on catching up. So I love this for us. But I think it was like a year or two ago when, seriously, it was, I think, when I was realizing I needed to kind of step away from the buzzing blonde and put my energy back into like just having somebody else tell me what to do. And in that moment, I looked at Brennan and I was like, I don't think I want to, like, I don't want the career my mom and sister have. And like, for me though, growing up where it was just like striving for that, and there's nothing wrong with, where it's like, again, like my mom, my sister, you, like, yes, like, is all inspirational. But I like what you're saying though too, where it's just like, you can still be a girl boss in your own way. And just like, it might not be in the corporate world per se, but maybe it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. So
yeah. I think there's a divide, right? So girl boss, confidence, and supporting the growth and development of girls and women throughout their career, no matter what direction they want to go. But I think there is that toxic side to it where you're thinking you constantly have to go, you constantly have to you constantly have to work. And I think that's where you have to figure it out for yourself and what makes the most sense for you.
Yes.
I'm a little slow. Took me a little bit. Got through Adidas with the kids.
Well, and
I think, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say too, like, I think it's something you're constantly learning too. I don't know if it's truly, because it's like that balance too is constantly, like, entrepreneur in itself too, where it's like you have the two extremes. You have the corporate ladder, but then you have entrepreneurship, which in itself is a beast. And I feel where I'm at too, it's kind of nice. I think, again, this is in my head, but I think about Audrey and Kennedy, my nieces, where it's like, my hope is that they see their mom, but also me. And now they're growing up with two different perspectives, where I think when I was growing up, I only saw the one perspective. That felt very deep. That felt very, very deep.
Even though, like, why we continue to push ourselves, and I don't want to speak for your sister or anybody else, but you know, we have these people who see us, be it your children, be it your, you know, nieces, nephews, or someone maybe that is in your life, and you want to be a role model, and you want them to understand, like, if that's what you want to do, that's awesome. We need to figure out the healthiest way to go about it.
Yes. Okay. What are some hidden costs of constantly chasing success, especially in high pressure industries?
So this is kind of where I was at, right? At Adidas. It was, and honestly, it wasn't one moment. It was like a culmination of all these things, right? Like getting up early and doing all of these things, and constantly feeling like I have to control everything and be involved in everything and be on the conversations. And so it was like a moment where I was like, I need a pros and cons list. I need to figure out what's happening. And that's where the Fanatics role came in, was I had realized, like, I was no longer growing, even though I was taking on more responsibility. I was no longer developing in my career. I was just drinking out of a fire hose just to keep going and keep pushing. And so it was a realization, and I think that's the cost, right? So you no longer are focused on the growth. You're no longer focused on learning and development, and you're focused on just keeping the lights on and keeping everybody happy and keeping the work coming. And that was definitely a huge cost. I think if I think about it, if we're talking health, I would say anxiety, probably definitely number one on the list, and everything that goes along with that. And then just the lack of time with what was most important to me. So I lost sight of what was most important. And like in the beginning, when you asked me what I couldn't live without, yeah, phone, but truly my friends and family, could not live without them. And that no longer was a priority. And so I had to take a step back and understand, like, what are my priorities and what am I focused on? And so wanting to get back to my family and friends and learning and development, those things that fill my cup every day. And so the pivot in the career and going down to Fanatics, I say pivot in career, but it was the same industry and like a promotional opportunity. But truly it was far less pressure, and it was far less feeling like I had to prove myself every day. And maybe that was a shift mentally I made in taking that. So it was like, you know, like when you get out of relationships and you cut all your hair off, maybe that was my cut my hair off moment. I don't know.
I mean, you also moved to an area where there was a beach in the ocean where have you ever heard of the blue theory? It's like seriously like seeing like I'm butchering this, but it's like seeing water or whatever. Like, I apologize, Jessica, if you're listening to it. Like she always brings it up though, but it's like just look it up. But the blue theory, and it has to do with water and just like calming you. So I believe it because, again, since moving to Charleston, like I feel like on weeks where I am feeling super stressed, I'm like, I just need to go take a quick walk on the beach. Like, I don't know about you, but that's definitely, and I'm like, I live by a beach, you know, like if you're from the Midwest, you're the cool aunt, you're the cool mom, you're cool now.
True. It's true. We do all the holidays down here now.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Can you, I need to somehow convince my family to do the holidays down here now.
I'm surprised they don't want to. No,
that's for another conversation, Kimberly. Okay. How can we as women in business redefine success in a way that's sustainable and fulfilling?
Oh, I think it's a good one. I think truly podcasts like these, access to information and places where you can go, maybe even like get mentorship, or making it more accessible to understand the trajectory people have, and like maybe learn from their mistakes, maybe understand that it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay. You know, I think, golly, I'm going to date myself again, but like back in my day, we didn't we didn't have all of that. So we didn't have access to a lot of what people have access today. Podcasts, a lot of like that access via the internet, just, research in general. I think it was, you work hard, you put in the time, and, your hard work will make things happen. And you know what? That is not the case a lot of times. You need to be strategic. You need to learn how to be strategic. You need to learn what boundaries are. You need to learn a lot of these things. And you need to also be confident enough to accept that that's okay. And I think it was a lot of, and this, it goes back to even sports in college, right? Like, work hard, you do this, you stick to this plan, and you keep just pushing forward. It's like trying to run through a brick wall. You'll get through it. Just keep trying to run through it. And that just isn't the case anymore.
Oh my gosh. We need to clip that. That was good. That was mic drop. That was mic drop. Okay. Unrelated, but related too. Cause that just hyped me up and felt like the pep talk I needed in my life. But can I hire you to be like my life coach? That's maybe that's an alternate universe.
There it is, Maddie. There's my alternate universe. I don't know. I would probably get on the phone and just start commiserating with people. Like, I know they're horrible. Shouldn't do that.
I feel like sometimes that's what you need, though. Just somebody who's in your corner is like hyping you up. Like,
okay,
yeah.
I could be a hype person for sure.
Yeah,
coach / hype man.
Listen up, social media managers, freelancers, and online business bosses. If you're still out here trying to Google your way to success, it's time for an upgrade. The #Manage Collective is a free Facebook group where we ditch the fluff and get real about what actually works in social media management. Community, coaching, and resources. Because your ideal clients don't just magically find you. We're a group of 20,000 plus social media managers, and it's absolutely free to join us. So what are you waiting on? Join now at #manage.com/group. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you made it this far, I think we've officially become internet besties. You can always call into the #hotline and say hello, leave a review, or ask your burning questions.
Make sure you follow, rate, and review the podcast wherever you're listening from. Subscribe to the Social Club newsletter for our weekly email, and shoot us a DM over at #manage on Instagram, letting us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode.